Welcome to the expert series from Selling Your Canadian Business. Our book lays out the expert team of advisors every Canadian business owner needs in their corner. This series brings those experts into the conversation, one at a time. Disclaimer: this series is for educational purposes only and is not professional advice. Always consult qualified professionals. Find our book and more resources at sellingyourcanadianbusiness.ca. Here is your host.
Hello, everyone. I'm David Prowse from the Shaughnessy Group, and we're here for another episode of the Expert Interview Series. This is our opportunity to interview professionals who help business owners grow and eventually exit their business. Today's guest is going to be Guylaine Ure from Equity M&A. Guylaine is a certified business intermediary, an award-winning business broker, and a former IBM professional who now helps entrepreneurs across Canada navigate one of the biggest decisions of their lives, selling their businesses. Known for her practical, no-nonsense advice, Guylaine specializes in business valuations, succession planning, and helping owners prepare years in advance to maximize the value of their life's work. She believes great exits don't happen by accident. They happen through preparation, clean financials, strong management teams, and a clear understanding of what buyers value. Guylaine, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So, Guylaine, tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you got to doing where you are today.
Well, I have a technology background. Prior to working at IBM, I came from Montreal. I work in the flight simulation field, and when I moved to Ontario, I ended up in a sales role. So I kind of like the sales aspect. So I sold IT services, then went on to be at IBM, and I ended up leaving work because my mother was ill. I'm an only child. And I was recruited by this American firm called Ingenuity. E-Ingenuity. I never heard of them, but I thought, oh, business brokers, that sounds interesting. I kind of knew about it because one of the firm I'd worked with, what was acquired. So I knew this thing existed, but it wasn't in my sphere.
Sure.
And I thought, having worked with an American company, I already reported to a US team. They don't often understand how we are here. I'm in the Ottawa area. It's not an engineering mecca, right? There's other city in this country where there's way more engineering type firm.
Yeah.
So I thought, but I like the idea. So I contacted, at the time I'm formerly with Sunbelt, contacted Greg Cal, said, come and work for me. I said, really? That easy? He said, well, you have to, do a test. And I passed with flying color. In fact, it's my favorite. It takes all the skill of my life into one, right? I used to match people's skill with a job. This is a bit the same thing. The right buyer with the right seller type of thing.
Sure.
And the rest is history. So
Excellent. Well, thank you. A lot of business owners think they can sell the business themselves. And from your perspective, what is a business broker bringing to a table maybe that most owners might underestimate?
Well, I think we help bring them a true professional business valuation, right? A lot of people have an overinflated idea of their business worth, specifically from friend or relative. Drive a nice car, a nice house, business must be worth millions. So I think we also our valuation are realistic in the sense that we do take a lot of the risk factor into account, depending if there's a management team. It's all based on the owner. So I think, and also you want to keep your business going, business as usual, right? Focus on running your business.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job to deal with all the buyers. Like you advertise a good business, you could be swamped with requests. So the seller is not really operating, which could result in, reducing the revenue, which will look bad at closing. So I think it's best to deal with a professional, and you do you, and we do everything for you.
Yeah.
So you could focus on running day to day.
And I think, on the valuation side, that's important because I think a lot of business owners don't necessarily have a great grip on what the valuation is on their business. They probably heard what their friend down at the golf club got for their business, and I think when you're starting that planning process, starting off with realistic valuation is really important.
And sometimes, I know certain brokers, they like to give it, the maximum value. Well, it's fine, but will the buyer succeed, right? Because most see this VTB. So if the buyer doesn't succeed, well, he won't get that value. I think it's better to be upfront. And if the seller is too unrealistic, I'd rather Well, I wish you luck, but I don't think I can represent you because I'd be
Yeah.
lying to say I'm going to get that amount of money for you. So I feel that honesty is better to disappoint upfront than a year later, and they have all these plans by then. You know, they've already got their college and whatever they're doing, and you have to let them know, well, the market doesn't agree.
Well,
So
I've been there.
we've all been there.
What is the most common mistakes you see business owners make that maybe before they go to market, and maybe what how does that affect the valuation?
Well, so I've seen, depending on the type of business, but let's say it's a business where they sell a retail.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll give lots of discount. So they're, giving big discount to increase the revenue, but then they're lowering the profit margin. So it might have a nice revenue, it looks good initially, but when you go to lenders, they realize, oh, well, why is the margin so low? What happened during that period? And then it creates a lack of trust from the onset.
Mhm.
I think that they should, continue to do business as usual is the key thing. Or another one is they start letting everybody know, oh, I'm starting my business in the hope that perhaps they could find their own buyer. But then some of the staff may think, well, I don't know if I'm going to like the new owner, I'm going to be proactive and look for another place to work. So, which again, if it's Key's employee, it's going to, affect the sales. So I think confidentiality, this is what also we provide to the, to the seller because our work is very confidential.
Yes, for sure. How important do you think are clean financials to that sale process? And if an owner's in a situation maybe where their books aren't quite up to snuff, what should they do about that?
I almost would delay selling, because it's going to be a smoother process. So I'm selling now, but it may take so long to sell and so many issues with the financing and too many personal expense. If you're thinking of selling, it's time to start cleaning up your book.
Mhm.
Your kid that doesn't work in your business, maybe it shouldn't be in the books.
Yeah.
Like business with good books are easier to sell because they're easier to finance and inspires confidence from the buyer.
Yeah.
And also people who take cash. It may be nice,
Yes.
but then you can't use the cash to buy your business. You can't have it both ways, right?
Right.
You've already saved on taxes, which I'm not CRA. It's not my job to, slap them on the
Sure.
wrist.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very detrimental to,
Yeah.
to do that. Having clean books, invest in your taxes, pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Because then when you look at your tax return again, it's less trouble because as you know, we mostly do share sales here in Canada. So um, it's important that for the confidence of the buyer, not to walk into a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, I know for doing a lot of planning work, one of the biggest things that I emphasize is, cleaning up the books and having good books, because at the end of the day, if a buyer comes along, they're always asking, what am I buying? And if they're looking at your numbers and they really can't trust them, that's difficult for them to move forward.
That's right. And even they did decide, okay, I'm moving forward with their lenders and say, whoa, we
Yeah.
have a problem here. You're not paying this much for this business. So you end up back at square one.
Yes, for sure. Well, the banks always have the last word, right? So,
And they're becoming a lot more strict as time goes on, right? With the economy the way it is. Uh, Last year, I attended a seminar by Desjardins, and they said they really upped their level of verification. And now it's gone even worse. It's, you
yes,
know, the,
no,
yeah.
for sure. Now you mentioned, some owners, maybe pre-retiring, in the sense that they're going through that process of a business sale, and they kind of take their foot off the gas pedal. Why is that? Why is that a problem? And maybe what should they be doing to kind of avoid that?
Well, if you want to retire, then you should start thinking of selling now. Because if you pre-retire, obviously, let's say you have a production line, you're not as productive, you reduce the production, you lay off some employees, you want to take it easy, less stress on you, but it affects your business value, right? If you slow down for a couple of years and you think, well, I used to make, my revenue was 15 million, but now it's 3. Well, don't think you're going to get anywhere the same, sale price.
Yeah,
So I
and
think it's important if you want to retire, just plan the sale.
And I know that depending on the size of the business, there's a lot of fractional professionals out there nowadays, fractional CFOs, fractional COOs, fractional sales and marketing people. And I think that's great because that's an opportunity for a business owner that, they don't want to take the foot off the gas pedal, but as we know, the sale process can keep them quite involved.
That's right.
So I think some of these fractional professionals can be very useful, sort of take some of the load off, keep the foot on the gas pedal until the closing date.
No, that's why it makes a big difference because then the business operate as usual, as a growing concern. If you just take your foot off the gas too much, well, everything falls apart.
Yeah. So for smaller businesses, like how do issues like cash flow normalization, we get involved with ad backs, working capital is always going to be an issue with a business.
Yes.
How does that impact like a deal?
Well, depending on the type of business, like some, to have the right amount is sometimes difficult. So the best thing to do is to have, some money's retained and there's a 90-day post closing, like a true up, right? You're going to see what real working capital is required to run the business.
Mhm.
Because sometimes the buyer will maximize the lending, right? They tapped out or they
Mhm.
use all their cash and then they don't have the money for the rainy day. They didn't plan properly. Because sometimes it is not always easy to calculate. Like, do they carry too much inventory that's dead weight and you're paying for this, but none of it is sellable.
Yeah,
So maybe when you look at the inventory, um, if it doesn't move in a year, then maybe consider it like it's not likely to move.
yeah,
So it should be adjusted very carefully because that's what could kill a deal and could kill the buyer post closing because then realize I don't have this enough money. I can't buy the stocks that I need for my season coming up.
yeah.
So that's, like maybe not just last 12 months, the trailing 12 months or like your peak season. Like you have to look at this very carefully and sometimes it's a bit ignored
Mhm.
in the
Uh,
valuation.
yeah, and I know working capital is an issue on every single deal. And you're going to get different buyers with different expectations about working capital, they may treat working capital very differently than how the seller has. Like sometimes you see the seller has a huge amount of inventory, and maybe that's just the way they want to run the business. But the question is, well, is that how the average buyer is going to, do they need that level of inventory? So
And sometimes they don't. We've had this issue with a roofing company because nowadays most people like they order as and when needed. Let's
yes.
say you want to change your roof or but a big commercial or individual, you pick your color and they order this and it gets delivered on your site. But I've seen people, oh, I'm getting a good deal on this shingle. I'm gonna order a bunch. Well, then they're sitting there because maybe you took the color black, but most people are doing different color now. So that
Yeah.
inventory is not really true. You can't get this value. The lender won't land on this stuff.
Hmm.
So I think it's important to look at your inventory and look at everything and be conservative.
Yes, for sure. What are you seeing in the market right now when it comes to financing? I know we talked a bit about, vendor take back notes. You mentioned the banks before. If you're a buyer, like how can they expect to maybe finance some of these deals?
Well, first of all, most lenders now, actually all of them, insist on a VTB.
Yeah,
The sellers don't really love it, but I've had a seller say, well, I'm not loaning them any money. Well, it's not a loan, it's a deferred payment.
yeah,
So that's the difference. If you believe in your company and your buyer, then you should be okay with that. If you believe you've done the right thing, it's easy to transition and everything is true, then you're going to get your money. It's just deferred. The lender insists for the same reason. If the seller doesn't believe in the business, well, why should we lend money to this business? So that's key. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to buy it with 10% down. That only works if you've acquired multiple business, got a demonstrated ability to operate. Most people that haven't bought a business before or it's a new business to them type of area, the lender is going to want more skin in the game.
yeah,
20, 30%. I don't want people to put all their cash in because it's good to have it for a rainy day,
yeah,
but you have to expect to put at least 20% for a
yeah,
deal to be financeable.
for
And
sure.
then the bank will finance some industry, they finance up to 75%, 60%, but to get an 80, 90 is, it's becoming very difficult.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, so let's just say, we find a buyer, we get the LOI, we go through due diligence. Now, this is really where a lot of deals can fall apart. So
Yeah.
tell me about how either deals can get delayed or fall apart, and what's going on during due diligence that causes that.
Well, I think sometimes the more the sellers prepare, like have all your document lined up.
Mhm.
You find out, oh, my book of minute is out of by 10 years. Well, that's going to be a delay. Uh, they don't have a lawyer that they know they could work with. So there's all the delay. It's important that you make sure that you work with your accountant, that let them know you're selling. You need the things to be turned around, in a quick fashion.
Yeah.
Be available for the due diligence. And as a broker, I think we need to keep them on a short leash in the sense that, because if you get too busy, you forget, oh, they're working this, but then you find out nothing was done. So it's
Yes.
important. Like I like to have, like, depending, sometimes it gets canceled, but a weekly meeting.
Right.
Sometimes they last longer, sometimes they're short, but you keep people on track.
Yeah.
Like the buyer may be less distracted, but the seller gets busy with work and they get distracted. Oh, I'm going to get to this. Oh, have I deal fall through because he didn't want to pay his accountant now because he said it was going to cost me more to rush him. Well,
Mhm.
it costs you to sell.
Yeah.
So that's worse, right? So you have to work, keep the momentum going, and be available.
Yes. And I think too, a lot of times we're taking on a client, like walking them through some pre-due diligence stuff to kind of see this
Yeah,
how ready they are. Because, I think taking on a client, we're taking on a client where, if we think there's a high probability that this is all going to fall apart during due diligence, it's like we might tell them to take a seat back and say, maybe you need to take 6 months or maybe even more. In some
clean up the
cases,
place.
yeah, clean it up, get some things ready, and I think a lot of people underestimate what happens during due diligence, and especially if you've got a sophisticated buyer like a private equity coming along,
Yeah,
where they're very sophisticated, and they're going to expect a lot of information in a short period of time.
that's why they expect it to be available. But sometimes I've had clients where they realize, gee, our financial system is a bit of an old version. I can't not produce this report.
Yeah,
They ended up, like, of course, the LOI fell through.
yeah,
They literally changed their financial system and delayed the sale.
yeah,
But then now they're able to produce the report required.
yeah,
Because some people think, well, it works for my business. Yes, you're making money. It's good for you. But now somebody has to take this, and they're not you.
yeah,
And they need this information to know what you tell them is true. You may know it's true, but they need to know. So they need to be prepared. It's best to delay
yeah,
than to waste everybody's time
yeah, for sure.
and expenses for you and, the buyer. So it's
Yeah,
important to plan and know you have the stuff available. And also a lot of the smaller deal, like review engage, it nowadays review engagement is almost for all deals.
yes,
Notice to read or if it's a 200 grand business, maybe. But as soon as the loan is over 300, they want review engagement. So why not just get it done
yeah,
in
yeah,
preparation? Your end is now going to market getting done in the last year, your full year.
yeah,
It'd be quicker. Otherwise, it's another delay. Oh, my account is on vacation. It was tax season is up for 3 weeks. Well, and then everybody knows time kills all deal.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, the cost of doing, moving on from, say, a compilation to a review engagement, it costs money, but it also, I think, provides a return on investment.
Totally. The lender are now demanding it. At first it was a BDC thing. Oh, it's public money. Well, now apparently the bank's money is also their money and they're looking the same.
Yeah,
I got a deal right now. It should have closed, but it's delayed because of a review engagement.
yeah. Now, we talked a lot about franchises, and so franchises are kind of a unique kind of beast. So when you're uh, going to sell a franchise, what are some of the unique issues there?
I find depending on the franchisor, it's the criteria they look for the buyer, right? Sometimes they use this to be very difficult. They demand a very high net worth. Um, or they could say, okay, well, although we paid the fee, when there's a sale, there's an additional fee. So sometimes it's And they also have the right to refuse the prospective buyer.
Yeah.
So I've had deal fall through because although he had enough money, he was able to get a loan. They felt he was over leveraged. They didn't like his net worth. He was a bit short, so they wouldn't let the sale go through. At the end of the day, they have the ability to pull the plug on you.
Yeah. And I know I've dealt with them before, and they have the disclosure document, franchise disclosure document that's very important to read. So I think,
You have to have that by law,
yeah, you
right?
have to have it, and it's you need to understand it and make sure you understand it. So have a lawyer or business advisor take a look at it, because it's not, there's a lot of great franchises out there and some not so great. So you have to sort of figure out like what's right for you and who's going to be a good business partner for you.
And the territory, right? Some
Yes.
franchise, a famous food chain, fast food chain, they used to put them every street corner,
Yeah.
right? What's your territory? Do you have enough to be sustainable? Do they allow people in other territory, depending the type of business that it is? Or if it's, let's say, a restaurant or something that has a facility where they demand that, okay, an upgrade every 2 to 3 years. Oh, don't worry about it. They don't care. They let me ride. Well, you don't know if they will for the new. They may turn around and ask the buyer, okay, now you need to do this. And the cost for this is 200,000. You didn't plan this. So these are all things that can make the sale fall through.
Yeah.
And some of them, the advertising budget. Are you in your area? Is this an area with advertise, or they focus on the big metropolitan? Like some restaurant franchises, let's say from Montreal, there was people in the region that bought. The focus of the ad was in the Montreal area. They were doing nothing in Ottawa, so the franchisee got together to add to the budget, but you're already paying 4%,
Yeah.
and you're getting nothing. Now you're gonna get another 2%. So it's nice. It's a business in a box, but really, depending who you are, may not be the dream for everybody.
For sure. Yeah. You have to figure out if it's right for you. Final question. So if you run into a business owner, say they tell you they're 3 to 5 years away from a business exit, what would you tell them that they need to do in the next 90 days?
Well, pretty much all we've talked about. Make sure to review everything. Everything is up to date. I would also make sure that you have a standing operating procedure written down, right? It's not
Hmm.
just on your head. Everything is documented. Clean up, clean up, clean up. Stop putting expenses through that you don't need. Don't offer discount to everybody. Just keep to show that this is the business the way it runs. So then when comes the time, you have a nice book, you didn't create fake spike by, like I said, discount or whatever else you may come up with,
Sure.
or or start collecting on sales that was supposed to go perhaps to the buyer, but then you try to collect and pull it out, and there's nothing left at closing day.
Yeah.
So prepare, prepare, prepare.
Yeah. And you can never start too early.
No, actually, that's why there's new courses now built to sell, right?
Yes.
People like build your business, even though the buyer tell them, now think you bought it, you're gonna sell it. Keep that in your mind.
Yes.
If you just want a family cash cow, fine, you're gonna live off of that. But don't expect that one day you'll sell for a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do you want a cash cow, or do you want a real business that's going to grow and people could build upon?
Sure. Well, Guylaine, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a great conversation. Everybody, check out Equitas M&A. Check out Guylaine Ure.
Thank
We'll
you.
in the notes we'll have the LinkedIn her LinkedIn profile, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Don't forget to check out sellingyourcanadianbusiness.com. We got information on our book. I got blogs and newsletters, so lots of good information. We'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks very much. Talk to you next
Thanks,
time.
Dave.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
That concludes this episode of the Expert Series from Selling Your Canadian Business. This conversation is for educational purposes only and is not professional advice. Always consult qualified professionals. Click on any of the additional resources on screen or visit sellingyourcanadianbusiness.ca. Thank you for joining us.